Hello, good people, and welcome back to Panned Dead Center. As I record this channel is still very new, and I thought I should explain a little bit about who I am.
Handstand Center.
I was born in Chicago in 1967. There was always a piano in the house, but I didn't start playing it until about 77. I pretty much taught myself how to play and also how to read music. I started playing the guitar about a year later. Now, after high school, and like everyone else in my family, I went to work in a steel mill. And I stayed there for 5 years before I shouted, "Enough!" and broke with family tradition to go to college. And I studied music composition under Bill Russo. I also started working in the college's writing center, tutoring other students in their English writing. And here I developed a love for how languages work. So when I graduated, I did my master's not in music, but in linguistics. Now I'm married by this time, so when I finished that, I came to Korea, my wife being Korean. I came here first in 97, and I'm still here. But I had only brought one keyboard with me, and making music started to just sort of fade into the background. There were some blips every now and then. A nonprofit organization I was involved with needed some music for a PR video, or some students wanted to work on a musical project. But for the most part, it was a thing of my past at this point, though one I did like to dust off every now and then. Along the way, I completed a PhD in New Zealand in applied linguistics, and that's the trajectory that my life took. I am a professor, but not of music. And then came the pandemic. And a common ice-breaking question that you might sometimes get asked is, what skills did you develop during the lockdown? Well, for me, I rediscovered music. And my keyboard was pretty old by this time. The keys stuck, the buttons hardly worked. So I bought a new MIDI controller. And with that came all of the technology that I had not kept up with, and I was hooked. But let's go back to when I was in college, because I think this is important. Studying composition then was very different than learning it now. I actually did have Cakewalk for MS-DOS, but I was the only one in my class who used a computer. And that's only because I had worked for several years and wasn't fresh out of high school like everyone else. But composing was something that we did on paper. And when it was done, we handed it to the musicians to play. The term digital audio workstation was still in the future. Cakewalk was considered a sequencer back then, and it only controlled external synths. There were no software plugins, and you couldn't record sound into your computer yet. So, in other words, what I didn't learn back in college was any kind of engineering. Mixing, mastering, just not part of the curriculum at all. And my college actually did offer those classes, but they were in a different department. And we couldn't take the ones that we wanted unless we had taken several prerequisite classes also offered by that department. Those classes, that knowledge was essentially inaccessible. So here I am in the here and now, and I just never learned a lot of the things that composers and songwriters today No. I'm doing my best to catch up, but it takes time. It's one thing to understand what a compressor is, but it's quite another to know how to use it well, when to use it, etc. So on this channel, I'll share some of my music, I'll share some of my thoughts, and I'll maybe even share some techniques that I've picked up along the way, but you're probably not going to get a whole lot of content related to the production side of things, at least not for a while. And if you do, it might be along the lines of, hey, look what I just learned. Anyway, that's me in a nutshell, and the nutshell is probably where I belong. I'm looking forward to developing this channel, and I hope to hear the music that you are creating. Take care, friends, and please stay healthy.